Marco Rubio just got hit with a political earthquake, and let's just say the aftershocks might end his career for good. One moment, Rubio is confidently holding his ground in Congress. The next, Senator Brian Schatz drops a truth bomb so explosive it sends the entire chamber into chaos. The accusations were brutal. It is just not true that only 12% of the aid reaches recipients. The way you get to 12% is it's 12% local NOSs. So that is excluding care, that is excluding the World Food Program, that is excluding Catholic Relief Services. And so if you're going to count that as like overhead or inefficiency, Secretary Rubio, you and I have honest disagreements. This wasn't just a heated debate. This was a public dismantling. And by the time it was over, Rubio wasn't walking out on his own terms. Let's break down what just unfolded between Senator Brian Schatz and Secretary Marco Rubio. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Members. Secretary, thanks for being here, and I appreciate our ongoing dialogue, even if we're in some disagreement about a number of things. I want to ask you, and I'm going to try to work the senator out of you here. I have a bunch of yes or no questions. They are not trick questions. Schatz came in swinging, grilling Rubio over his careless approach to foreign aid and demanding real explanations about how his funding cuts could hit the world's most vulnerable communities. Are you still the acting U.S. administrator? Yes. Do you control hiring and firing at USA? Yes. Well, I delegate the authority to an administrator, but obviously yes. And you control hiring and firing at state. Again, we obviously rely on our bureaus to do, depends what you're, that's a highly technical question. I don't hire the line officers in every embassy in this, but technically you're ultimately in charge. But that's not all. When Schatz pushed him on whether he had control over hiring and firing at the State Department and Department of Industry, Rubio couldn't sidestep it. He admitted it outright. But hold on, the real fireworks are just about to start. Yes. Okay. Did you personally review all the programs terminated during the Foreign Assistance Review and personally make termination decisions? Yes. Do you have the authority to direct any state or U.S. aid staff to brief Congress? Yes. Can you have Mr. Lewin or you come back to Congress and talk about U.S. aid in the context of the coming end of the federal fiscal year and SOPs and appropriations? That's already planned to do that, not just him, but others, because we'll have to update you on that on our reorg organization. He also revealed he's weighing the idea of cutting aid completely and confirmed he has the power to bring it before Congress, but then complained that no one has acted on his plans yet. In plain terms, he's got the power. He's got the plan, but he's annoyed no one's rushing to make it happen. And my staff has sent 200 unanswered questions. 200 unanswered questions about this much paper. Consultation is not a courtesy. It is required by law, and we have now 200, and these are perfunctor. What are you up to? What does this mean? This is the kind of normal pace of operations. Radio silence other than you're very responsive. Your department and USA has not been very responsive. And if you think the heated argument ended here, well, think again. Because Senator Brian Schatz didn't just give Marco Rubio a tough time, he completely tore him, exposing a pattern of dodging questions, breaking the rules, and just plain failing at his job. Rubio spent the whole exchange sidestepping simple questions like he was trying out for a how to avoid accountability masteress. While Schatz laid out the cold, hard facts, foreign aid laws, violated promised funds, left hanging, and the people who actually need this aid, they're the ones paying the price. The Foreign Affairs Reform and Restructuring Act, the Empowerment Control Act, the Anti-Deficiency Act, the Foreign Assistance Act, and the annual appropriations bills for state foreign operations have been violated in multiple ways. On March 12th, you wrote, "We plan to engage Congress as required both by law and reality before we start drafting a plan to bring us to overstate." That did not happen. Schatz wasn't politely asking for answers. He was demanding them. He called Rubio out for letting a bureaucratic mess spiral out of control and then hit him with the question everyone was thinking. If you know the system's broken, why haven't you fixed it? As you know, we have a pledge. We owe the Global Fund $1.3 billion. I spoke with the head of the Global Fund in response to my repeated requests and multiple other people's repeated requests. You told me that those funds were going to be released. It has not happened. I'd just like you to respond. But instead of stepping up, Rubio hides behind red tape and acts like he's powerless, even though he's not. If you thought that was wild, the next part will leave you speechless in this vast bureaucracy. Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why we want to reorganize is to have less vast bureaucracy. But wouldn't blame that on this. The first couple points, we believe and continue to believe that we have complied with the law on every step of the way, including through advising Congress of our roles, and even now with the reorganization, we have not issued a congressional notification yet. We issued a preliminary. We have taken input from members. I actually personally signed a letter that I think should have been delivered to you. I was overseas. I don't know if it was Monday or Sunday or Saturday, but it was in response to your latest letter. He's got the authority. He's got the responsibility. And right now he's failing at both. As Schatz made crystal clear, it doesn't matter if you reorganize the system. It means nothing if you're not even following the law in the first place. If you thought this was heated, then watch what happens next. So the practical effect here, right? Because everyone can agree that, well, I don't know if everyone can agree, but it seems to me that most of us agree that there is virtue in reforming any big institution and that aligning us aids operations with the State Department and the President's and the Secretary's foreign policy objectives is beneficial. The question is, can we do this lawfully and in a way that doesn't damage our international reputation? Brian Schatz gave Marco Rubio a much-needed reality check. Cutting foreign aid doesn't make America stronger. It leaves behind the very people who count on our leadership the most. Schatz painted a clear picture of what those cuts really mean. Kids without medicine, families going hungry, and entire communities falling apart. Mothers who have fled Boko Haram in Nigeria are watching their babies starve. Children in South Sudan are dying of cholera. Families are dying because they have been cut off from their HIV medications. There are about 103 deaths an hour. And so we can talk about the reorganization of the State Department. And this isn't just about doing the right thing. It's also about smart strategy. Schatz didn't just criticize. He called for both parties to work together on a foreign aid plan that's effective, legal, and compassionate. On some level, that's water under the bridge. But what I want from you is a commitment to try to get an appropriations bill that is done on a bipartisan basis that reconstitutes the foreign aid enterprise. I think we can do fewer things. I think we can be more narrow in our focus. But that wasn't all. Schatz held Rubio accountable for his actions, and rightfully so. But what he said next will blow your mind. But you were pushing on an open door, and instead of pushing on that open door, you were lighting the room on fire. Maybe that was not your intent. And I think we have two objectives right now. Minimize suffering and reputational damage on what that's one line of effort, and the other is how do we get back to the regular order where we can do a bill together? And I'd like your thoughts in the remaining minute and a half. Yeah. Well, first of all, that is meanwhile. Rubio keeps hiding behind the tired excuse of fiscal responsibility, ignoring the long-term harm these cuts could cause. The intent here, right, is to rebuild the foreign aid enterprise under the State Department. By the way, it's something multiple secretaries of states before me have wanted to do because we want foreign aid to be a part of our diplomacy toolbox and our way we engage the world. Not its own separate entity, but all of it coordinated one with the other. So that's our hope on the reorg, and that's what we're trying to endeavor towards. I also don't think it's fair, by the way, you highlighted a couple points like in South Sudan, there's distribution problems there. It's not just a program. These PPAR is 85% operative right now. What Schatz is pushing for isn't handouts. It's smart policy that actually helps people while serving America's interests. And if Rubio can't see that, maybe he's not the one who should be in charge of aid policy in the first place. So you touched about HIV medication. Secretary, you are required to spend 100% of the money, not 85% of the money. But 15% of that is funding of programs that we've canceled. We're going to cancel those programs we presented because they don't reach the purpose of those are elements of individual programs. For example, that we're not meeting the mandate of the program. They were not being delivered. We just the other day at the embassy, lover in Namibia identified fraud. Brian Schatz tore apart Marco Rubio's so-called foreign aid strategy, or really his lack of one. Let's be honest, slashing aid across the board because of fraud or inefficiency isn't strong leadership. It's lazy policymaking. And if you thought it couldn't get any more intense, you're in for a surprise. Millions and millions of dollars of U.S. aid was found on the store shelves being resold into the marketplace. It was our ambassador who discovered it. We tried to work with local authorities to fix it, and it was not fixed. And he was weeping at the conference while announcing this decision because he'd hated to do it. In some of the places you highlight, it's important to remember, even if the money is distributed, sometimes it cannot be brought out. The aid does not reach people because armed elements in South Sudan, are impeding aid from reaching their intended recipients. It's a very complicated world in terms of the delivery of aid. The one Schatz called him out for using a sledgehammer on a problem that needs precision, all while ignoring the human suffering and damage to America's reputation that reckless cuts can cause. Senator Brian Schatz wasn't about to let Marco Rubio get away with that wildly misleading statistic. And honestly, thank goodness for that. Rubio threw out this bogus claim that only 12% of foreign aid actually reaches the people who need it, trying to make the whole system look like a giant money pit. But that number has been given to you and is not an accurate assessment of the extent to which aid reaches the people who need it. And I will just say, if there's an enterprise to reduce overhead, count me in. But it is not 88% overhead. That's not what's happening. Thank you. Well, that number, just to clarify, was actually Samantha P's number, and she regretted that. One of the things she was unable to do at USAID is improve upon that number. But Schatz shut that down immediately, calling it what it really is, a huge oversimplification meant to justify slashing programs that literally save lives. That 12% number, it leaves out all the realities of delivering aid. Things like transportation, building infrastructure, providing security, and covering the administrative costs of working in war zones or disaster-stricken areas. But that was nothing compared to what Schatz said after this. It is just not true that only 12% of the aid reaches recipients. The way you get to 12% is it's 12% local NOSs. So that is excluding CARE, that is excluding the World Food Program, that is excluding Catholic Relief Services. And so if you're going to count that as like overhead or inefficiency, Secretary Rubio, you and I have honest disagreements. Anyone serious about foreign policy would understand that Schatz pushed back hard because he knows what's truly at stake here: lives, stability, and America's reputation around the world. When Rubio uses misleading numbers like this, he's not just bending the truth, he's undermining decades of humanitarian and diplomatic work for political points. Schatz made it clear facts still matter, and foreign aid deserves more than lazy math and empty talking points. So, what's your take? Drop your thoughts in the comments.